you're tuning into something different, something deeper. Welcome to a space where the unseen becomes seen, where the patterns beneath reality are decoded. This isn't just a podcast, it's a journey into the mechanics of belief, perception, and the multidimensional truths shaping our world. If you've ever felt like an outsider looking in, questioning the systems you're told to follow, you're in the right place. This is the OUTKAST, the Pattern Podcast. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at some really fascinating material.
Yeah, it's quite something. We're exploring excerpts from shamanic power through animal patterns.
Right, and this connects back to the teachings of Toltec shaman Don José Ruiz.
Exactly. The core idea is exploring lessons from nature, especially animal wisdom.
And our mission today is really to unpack how that connection, that observation, can help transform your own journey. Sort of like finding clues about yourself in the natural world.
That's a good way to put it. The source suggests there are these powerful forces, powers, influencing our lives.
And understanding them starts with looking outward at animals.
Kind of, yeah. It starts by seeing animals not just as animals, but as potential guides, holding insights.
Okay, so that brings us to the foundational idea of power animals.
But not in a super abstract way. Think of them as spiritual guides, embodying certain qualities, certain lessons we can learn.
And the source uses the medicine wheel symbol to help structure this.
It does.
Yeah.
Associating animals with elements earth, air, fire, water, it gives a kind of framework for understanding their roles, their messages.
So how do you begin? Where's the starting point?
It's actually really accessible. The source just encourages you to start noticing, what animals keep showing up around you.
During specific events, or when you're feeling a certain way.
Exactly. Just pay attention. That's the first step.
It's an invitation to be more mindful, isn't it?
It really is. And it gets deeper. The material suggests creating your own power animal compendium.
Your own personal guide.
Sort of, yeah. It mentions a big section in the source material, animals' meanings, exercises, even prayers and chants to connect.
Wow, that's extensive.
Yeah.
But it's not just about looking up meanings in a book, is it?
No, absolutely not. That's crucial. The real emphasis is on your observation.
So noticing when they appear, the situation, the season maybe.
Precisely. What is nature teaching you through this specific animal right here, right now? It's about building a living relationship, not just checking a list.
That makes sense. And that focus on relationship builds into this idea of sacred interconnectedness.
Exactly. When you start observing certain animals repeatedly or at significant times, the source says it fosters this deep, almost sacred connection.
It makes you ask those simple questions, like the example given. What is the ant teaching you?
Yeah. And it's not just any ant, but that specific ant right there. How it's moving, what it's doing in its environment, especially near you.
And here's the really interesting part, I think. Connecting that outer observation
to your inner state. Yes. You have to pay attention to how you're feeling while you're observing the animal. That's key.
So the animal's behavior plus your feeling equals insight.
That's the idea. Combining those gives you insights into your own patterns, your behaviors, maybe even your spiritual direction. It becomes a real tool for self-discovery, for healing.
So the animal is kind of reflecting things back to you.
In a way, yes. A mirror. You see its traits, you feel something, and you start understanding yourself better.
But there's a really important clarification the source makes here.
Oh, definitely. This is critical. It's not about trying to become the animal.
Right. You learn from its energy, its trait.
Its behavior, absolutely. But the source is really clear. You remain human. You learn from the animal's wisdom.
It suggests that losing that distinction is maybe where some traditions miss the point.
That's what the material implies, yeah. You don't shed your humanity. You enhance it with the animal's lesson.
And practically, this comes back to your own notes, your own observations.
Exactly. Your direct experience of watching the animal in its world, that's the teacher. No outside interpretation needed, really.
It makes the wisdom feel very grounded, very real, because you saw it yourself.
Undeniable, yeah.
So how does all this ancient wisdom fit into today? We live in such a, disconnected time often.
That's precisely why it's presented as so relevant. It's positioned as a way back, a pathway to reconnecting with nature, finding that sense of unity again.
Tapping into older sources of strength and guidance.
And the source suggests that by doing this, you actually get better at observing the outer world because you're learning to observe your inner world first.
They're linked.
Inextricably. And it also really stresses, drawing on the Toltec tradition, the importance of respect. Deep respect for the animals we share the planet with.
They're teachers, not just things.
Right. All animals teach us something through how they live, their characteristics, even the stories and myths humans have told about them for centuries. It shows how interconnected we've always been.
But then there's a twist, isn't there? A contrast.
There is. While animals teach us so much, the source highlights that we humans have these extra unique abilities.
Like imagination, language, our ability to use our hands.
Exactly. These are framed as unique human powers, the power to analyze, to create, build cultures, consciously transform ourselves.
And even modify the natural world around us in significant ways.
Which leads directly to the responsibility part. The source is clear. These powers come with a duty to use them wisely, for the good of everyone, the whole system.
Yeah, and sadly, as the source points out, that's often not what happens.
No. It mentions the harm done to animals, habitats often out of greed, out of fear, and it says a real fix has to start inside us, with changes based on unconditional love.
It also talks about how we misuse these gifts internally, causing our own suffering.
Oh, absolutely. Berating ourselves, comparing, rejecting parts of ourselves, feeling not enough, punishing ourselves mentally.
And spreading that negativity, that emotional poison to others.
And then the stark contrast. Animals don't do any of this.
That really lands, doesn't it?
It does. And in that sense, animals become incredible teachers of just being present. Living in the now.
They remind us not to judge ourselves, not to fight against our own nature.
Exactly. They invite us into harmony, just accepting the way things are.
Which brings us back to that idea of sacred observation.
Mm-hmm. And understanding yourself through it. The source adds another layer here. It says often what you're trying to understand out there is actually being projected from your own energy field.
So my inner state colors how I see the world, including animals and people.
Pretty much. It influences how you interpret your feelings and emotions about what you see.
And this helps with navigating interactions with people, too.
Definitely. There's a specific point made about learning that not everything you feel around others is actually aimed at you.
So much of it is just people projecting their own stuff.
Yeah, their feelings, their issues kind of bouncing off you. Sometimes they know it, sometimes they don't. It's another insight you gain from learning to observe without automatically personalizing everything.
Developing discernment, basically. Figuring out what's yours and what's theirs.
That's a good way to put it. So the overall encouragement from the source is to really learn from animals as a way to heal, to shed light on those inner mysteries.
It's about building that muscle, right? Learning to see the world and yourself differently.
It's a practice. Working with animals this way is ongoing.
And for listeners who feel this resonates, who want to go deeper.
Yes, the source material does mention that these powerful lessons are being formatted for broader understanding. There's actually a course being developed.
A course designed to help you use these tools to, help yourself navigate all this.
Exactly, to provide a more structured way to integrate this wisdom into your life.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we've covered a lot. The wisdom waiting in the animal kingdom.
The power of observation, both outwards and inwards.
That contrast between how animals just are and how complicated we humans can make things for ourselves.
And the potential for real change, real transformation through that conscious observation and inner work.
So maybe a final thought to leave everyone with, pulled from the source. Reflect on those unique human powers we talked about: imagination, language, creating things.
Are you using yours wisely?
Yeah.
For the benefit of the whole. It's definitely something to consider.
Absolutely. This has been a fascinating look at how much we can learn just by paying attention to the natural world and to ourselves within it. A path to understanding right there.